Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a scathing report has detailed staff shortages and spiralling compensation claims engulfing the state's prison sector. A leaked copy of draft findings from the custodial inspector listing 64 recommendations to overhaul the struggling system.
5 prisons, nearly 500 staff, and 89 of them seeking workers' compensation.
They're being undermined, they are being injured, they are being bullied, and it is an absolute indictment on the way the system is being run.
Among the findings in a leaked and scathing draft of the custodial inspector's report on Tasmania's prisons, excessive overtime, stigma attached to staff raising issues, workers rostered on against medical advice.
Units being locked down on an almost daily basis. There are too few staff and it is atrocious. We're breaking people by allowing them to work the levels of overtime that they've been working.
The report says staffing hasn't kept pace with prisoner numbers. There's also a lack of training, resources and communication.
We've seen issue after issue of where correctional officers are placed in unsafe environments, not only risking the inmates themselves but also the correctional officers, and we're calling for more resources from the government.
Concerns were also raised that some new recruits initially failed psychometric testing but were offered roles as correctional officers anyway. The draft report does note that a review into the trainee process was underway. There are 64 recommendations. The prison service urged to determine its staffing needs now and for the future, consider casuals to cover vacancies and introduce strategies to reduce sickness and absences.
The government's been employing more prison staff and providing more places so that the prisons are able to accommodate inmates, and we've taken a very strong approach around the safety and working conditions of the people who work in their prisons.
The Custodial Inspector and Justice Department said it wasn't appropriate to comment on the report while in draft form, but added the prison service is working to ensure the safety and well-being of all staff and inmates, and that 40 correctional officers graduated in April this year. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
With those case numbers skyrocketing in Victoria, coronavirus testing has, from today, ramped up in our quarantine hotels. For more, we'll cross straight to our reporter Louise HOBART. Good evening, Louise. Now, what's the COVID situation looking like here in the state?
Kim, we still just have the one positive case in Tasmania. That young woman remains in a stable condition. The government has attempted to alleviate concerns about the potential of the virus spreading, saying our isolation systems are working exactly as they should be. Now, those in hotel quarantine are strongly recommended to be tested twice during their stay as an extra precaution. The government is saying it's pleased with Tasmania's overall testing rates, with on average 600 being conducted every day. As we heard earlier, from midnight tonight, people in Melbourne will have to wear masks out in public, but that's not being deemed necessary here at this stage.
We have considerable amounts of planning in place to ensure that we have rapid response mechanisms to be able to respond quickly.
And Kim, we still are expecting an update on our border restrictions on Friday, but for now, Tasmanians are reminded to stay vigilant.
3 people are in custody after allegedly crashing a stolen car into a Launceston business while evading police. Onlookers were left shocked as the vehicle ran a red light, smashing into the side of an innocent driver's car.
On the run in an alleged stolen car, the getaway plans of 3 offenders are forced on foot. Staff of this computer store watching on in disbelief as the trio tries to escape through a nearby hotel car park.
The offenders were located some distance away and others were nearby.
It all began after the ute was allegedly stolen from a business in Invermay just before 3 this afternoon.
Shortly after that, that vehicle's collided and resulted in the crash behind us.
The joyride coming to a crashing halt on the corner of Scimitar and Tamar Street, the vehicle left wedged between the business and a traffic light. Thankfully, no bystanders were on the street corner at the time. The innocent woman behind the wheel of the 4-wheel drive was left shaken but relatively unharmed.
Although she's got a stiff neck and some sore ribs, she's okay.
The accident caused traffic chaos in Launceston CBD, but despite the damage, this business is preparing to open its doors first thing tomorrow. 2 men and a woman are tonight in custody, but charges are yet to be laid.
We will be looking at interviewing the offenders. Inquiries are still ongoing in relation to who was involved and what part they played in the stealing of the vehicle.
Garth, Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
A head-on collision at Brighton late yesterday has claimed the life of a 41-year-old woman. The crash is one of many across the state this week, prompting warnings from authorities.
This hatchback, a crumpled mess. The small vehicle colliding with a truck on Tea Tree Road at Brighton head-on yesterday afternoon.
Early indications are that the Hyundai gets us crossed to the incorrect side of the roadway.
The 41-year-old driver was airlifted from the scene, dying in the Royal Hobart Hospital this afternoon. The cause still unknown.
Crash investigation services the matter remains under investigation with them.
Authorities quickly on scene. The truck driver sustained minor injuries. A passerby thanked for his help.
The driver of a log truck that drove across that accident and stopped and rendered assistance.
This crash, which closed the road for 6 hours, just one of many across the state this week. Police describing it as a horror few days with fatalities and serious injuries.
It's obviously a tragedy for everybody involved, the victims, the families, the emergency services that have to respond to the scene.
It sparked a reminder to all drivers to heed authorities' potentially life-saving warnings, including driving to the conditions.
Don't speed, wear your seatbelt. If you are fatigued, don't embark on a long journey.
A simple reminder which could save from tragic consequences. Louise Huber, 7 Tasmania News.
A coroner has found a Tasmanian woman murdered by her husband in 2015 sought police protection before her death. Olga Newbert was shot dead in a car at Newtown by her husband, Klaus Dieter Newbert. In his findings, Coroner Simon Cooper said Mrs Newbert had been unable to persuade a police officer to issue a family violence order. He said police inaction did not cause her death, but led to a situation where she was unprotected. Tasmania Police say new processes are now in place to capture all reported instances of family violence. And for anyone seeking support, you should contact 1-800-RESPECT or, in a personal crisis, Lifeline. The final report into a 2017 helicopter crash which killed a popular Tasmanian pilot has been released. Safety Bureau investigators say control of the aircraft was lost during emergency training, leading to tragic consequences.
The horrific aftermath of emergency training gone wrong. This rotor-lift chopper plunged to the ground at Hobart Airport in November 2017. The final investigation released today.
The helicopter collided with the ground during a simulated hydraulic system failure exercise, tragically fatally injuring the experienced and highly regarded Chief Flying Instructor.
These images demonstrate the harsh impact and tragic scene that was left. The victim, instructor and rotor-lift founder Roger Corbin. His student John Osborne seriously injured. Investigations finding the helicopter entered a crosswind during the exercise and a pre-flight briefing was not undertaken before the flight, which could have led to confusion as to who should take control during an emergency.
This and many other similar accidents illustrate that hovering the AS-350 Squirrel helicopter without hydraulic assistance can lead to a rapid, catastrophic loss of control, even for highly experienced pilots.
The ATSB says the operator has now employed a safety manager and updated its manuals and systems. Following the popular husband and father's death, there was a celebration of his life and of the lives he saved during his time in search and rescue. Louise Huber, 7 Tasmania News.
Burnie's $50 million university campus is taking new steps towards completion. It was all hard hats and high vis at the construction site today, which hasn't stopped throughout the pandemic. Government leaders say the new education campus will give regional residents the same opportunities as those in bigger cities.
The potential can be realised when the education and training opportunities are there. This is probably the most
important structural thing that's happened in this community for the last 70 or 80 years since the paper mill was built.
The project is scheduled for completion next year. A new state-of-the-art facility for apprentice tradies has had its funding bolstered. With current teaching infrastructure ageing, planning for a Trades and Water Centre of Excellence at TasTAFE is progressing. The federal government today chipped in an extra $7 million for the project, meaning all trades will now learn from the specialist Clarence Campus Hub.
The demands of the trade have become far more sophisticated and technically demanding, and we need a learning environment that will actually facilitate better outcomes for the apprentices.
The hard work begins now, really, in designing that training. And to bring plumbing and electrical training together is a synergy that's critical for the industry.
It's hoped the first students will be learning on site by 2022. After running for 123 years, the Latrobe Carnival has been cancelled. Coronavirus shockwaves are behind the decision to scrap this year's event, although other Christmas carnivals are still going ahead as planned. Organisers say they're confident Latrobe will return to the series next year. A new advanced piece of equipment for treating cancer patients has fired up in Launceston. The linear accelerator, which delivers radiation treatment, is said to be highly accurate and can target different tumours in the body.
A normal treatment over many years has been about 6 to 7 weeks worth of radical treatment. With these newer treatments, we can all get it over and done with within a single treatment or between 2 and 4 in general.
More machines will be rolled out in Launceston and Hobart next year. A specialist education program is teaching the next generation of farmers how to best protect Tasmania from biosecurity threats. At Hagley Farm School, students have been learning simple techniques, such as using hand and boot washing stations, to practice good farm safety. The state government says it's an important message, with biosecurity threats like fruit fly posing an ongoing risk to local agriculture.
The message is it's everybody's responsibility. We need to make sure that pests and diseases and weeds are kept out of our state.
Tasmania remains free of the pest despite a detection in East Launceston earlier this year. The state government says AFL games in Hobart are not a done deal yet, despite the league scheduling 2 clashes at Blunston Arena. Footballers won't receive special exemptions from quarantine rules, but that isn't stopping preparations from getting underway.
Blunston Arena is warming up for a game which might not even happen.
We have to prepare the venue to be safe.
The AFL's announcement of 2 games in Hobart next month involving North Melbourne, Melbourne and Brisbane jumped the gun on the state government, which today doubled down on its hardline stance.
No special exemptions for AFL or anyone else. This is a level playing field.
The Premier will update our border rules on Friday, but Blunston Arena is being converted to footy in anticipation. One of the biggest hurdles, removing the sight screens. All the expertise is based in Melbourne, so they'll be guiding locals remotely.
It's not as simple as just picking them up and putting them out the back. We've had to find innovative solutions, and they're not cheap solutions either.
The ground is likely to open to 25% capacity, which is roughly 5,000 fans. There is a window for the Kangaroos to play its other 2 contracted games in Hobart, but it's unlikely to play any more, as the ground needs to be ready for cricket by the end of September.
This is the first time we'll have run an operation with the COVID-related activity that has to be wrapped around it.
Meanwhile, Hawthorn has reaffirmed it is open to playing the entire back end of the season in Launceston. The Hawks will be based in Perth for the next 3 weeks and will come to Tasmania if the state government and public health give the green light. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Lauderdale's Mitch Anderton will miss this week's clash after a head-high collision left him concussed. Glenorchy's Ryan Banks-Smith has accepted a 3-week ban for the hit. Anderton could miss even more of the season as a precaution.
No one likes to see that sort of thing, and he actually remembered the incident as soon as he come off, but then about 5 minutes after the game he couldn't remember anything, so there's a bit of delayed concussion there as well.
Meanwhile, North Hobart is flying after a 10-point win over Kingborough. Coach Richard Robinson says his group is developing well.
We go into every game thinking we can win, so
I mean, obviously that's been a bit of a change in mindset, like especially from 2018. But, you know, we're confident that if we put 4 quarters of footy together, we'll be competitive with anyone.
The two sides will clash at North Hobart Oval on Saturday. Locally now, and Longford filly Still a Star is looking to have her name up in lights, launching her bid to run in this year's Cox Plate. Trainer Bill Ryan says Victoria's unravelling virus situation gives local horses the upper hand.
Star by name, star by nature. Still a Star doesn't make a huff over all of this fuss. In fact, she loves the attention, which is why she's eyeing off horse racing's Tinseltown, Moonee Valley.
She's a horse that deserves a crack at the big time in Melbourne.
Her first step will be the BM84 at Caulfield in 3 weeks' time. If she keeps winning, she'll earn a place in the prestigious Cox Plate. Trainer Bill Ryan won't be heading along, but his 3-year-old filly won't be alone. Adam Trinder's Mystical Pursuit will be on the same boat.
Mystical Pursuit, her arch enemy. So that's going to be really interesting.
Ryan says the threat of more lockdowns in Victoria leaves that state's racing industry vulnerable to more disruption. With the virus under control here, Ryan can focus on the job at hand.
Still a Star has burst onto the racing scene with 7 wins from 12 starts. But this will be her first time travelling to the mainland, and she's hungry for a win.
And she loves to fight. If something comes at her in a race, you'll see she'll poke her head out and really have a crack and want to beat them. Don't you? Eh?
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. Friendly beaches in Devonport, our high today with 15 degrees. Hobart and Burnie 13, Launceston top of 14. St Helens 14 as well. Smithton, Low Head and Ouse 13. Grove and Strawn 12. The Bass Strait Islands 11. Lyoweeney a high of 6. A few showers were observed over the west today with mid to low level cloud gathering over the west and through Bass Strait. Similar cloud is over Western Victoria, an area of mid to high cloud over much of Queensland and New South Wales. Tomorrow the high drifts over Victoria, a cold front and prefrontal trough head over the Bight as another remains over Queensland. West to southwest winds 10 to 15 knots but stronger over the southeast up to 30 knots early in the day. Winds more westerly in the afternoon with swells at 3 metres in western and southern waters. Strong wind warning from Tasman Island to southeast Cape. Top of 12 for Hobart tomorrow and partly cloudy, 11 the high for Cygnet, maybe a light shower, cloudy for New Norfolk, 10 the top. A high of 13 for Launceston after a frosty start, 12 for Devonport. Morning frost for Campbelltown as well, -1 to a top of 11. 12 the high for Burnie, showers for Strawn and 12, 13 the top for Smithton. St Helens tomorrow, partly cloudy and 14, 13 for Swansea, a morning frost for Fingal, -2 overnight, a top of 12. On Friday, a shower over the west and northwest, easing in the evening, mainly fine and partly cloudy on Saturday, the chance of a shower again in the west, and on Sunday showers in the west, extending to central and northern areas in the evening, an early shower further north as well as we look at the big picture. Perth tomorrow, an early shower clearing, sunny and 15 for Adelaide, cloudy and cool. The forecast for Melbourne, sunny and 18 in Sydney, 18 as well for Brisbane, but rain expected there. Partly cloudy in Hobart, it's 8, 5 degrees in Launceston, 8 right now in Devonport. Thanks, Kim, for calling me fit and agile, but I think you're thinking of my wife. Donna works out at the gym. I'm still working out where the gym is.
You're looking good, Murph.